Counter's a little bit of a mess this morning. I mean, it's not a huge mess. I'll show you. I'll show you what I'm talking about. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cups. Granted, 2 are for the road, 2 don't go in the dishwasher. And I guess the bigger thing to remember is to forgive ourselves, not to beat ourselves up by a slightly messy counter. Not totally sure what to do with this, really, at all. I mean, I hate to say, if I was going to give from all the lessons of all the classes, I'm in teacher mode. All the lessons I've talked through during my 6 years of doing this show might lead me to throw away this cup that is worn off old Coffee with Ken mug, since I have a better one. I think so often we keep the old sweatshirt, the old t-shirt, the old something around just for that rainy day when we need it. Maybe what I should do is just give it a good washing and put it away. So, another little lesson I've taught myself is do it now. I don't know which rule of thumb takes priority, the do it now or the throw out the second string stuff you really don't need anymore. Maybe I'll let it kind of hang out over here for a little bit, dry out a little more. Pour myself some coffee, shut that cabinet, put this one last spoon away. The heck, while I'm doing it, I might as well keep doing it a little bit. Why not take a paper towel, give a little quick clean up to this whole counter area. Yeah, deep cleaning is great, but I'll tell you what, a half-ass cleaning's pretty good too. Some might not agree with that at all, but that's okay too. I mean, I don't know who could disagree that that's a lot better than it was just 2 minutes ago. And if I had to do a full cleaning, I wouldn't have done it. And I would have been left with cups on the counter, a mug that was worn out, staring at me, continuing to stare at me another day. And some extra coffee stains. Good morning, Rebecca. Good morning, from Buffalo, New York. And good morning, Gabrielle. And good morning, good morning. Good morning to you. My name is Ken Tracy, and this is Coffee with Ken. It is Tuesday morning. It is, let's see. It is January 13th, It is 5:05 a.m. Happy Tuesday. Coffee with Ken is a show that I've done for quite some time. It is a show about me talking. It is a show about me sharing some feelings, kind of sharing a little bit about the ups and downs we have in life, kind of sharing the adventure that is one man's life, the shaving tips, the cleaning tips, the spirituality journey, the sobriety journey, the struggles and the successes. But for those that have been watching a while, you know it is not just a show about me talking. For those that have been watching a while, you know it is also a show about me sharing my love of coffee. And with that in mind, I have a nice hot cup of coffee at this very early hour for me. I'm not totally sure if I should be up at this point. I'm not totally sure if I should be up at this point. I woke up around 3:45, laid in bed for a while, edited a video, and then said, what the heck? Let's get up. Let's start the coffee. Let's start my show. Had some thoughts. I'll share them with you after I have my first sip. So I am excited because I have this hot cup of coffee. It is the Black Rifle Beyond Black Coffee. And I am excited to have my first sip. My hope is wherever you are and whatever you're doing at this early hour on this Tuesday morning. Excuse me, my finger was kind of hurting. I feel like I'm getting arthritis of the whole body. Good morning, Eugenio. Again, I'm excited to have my first sip. My hope is wherever you are and whatever you're doing, that you got a hot cup of coffee in front of you as well. Again, I'm not even totally sure I'm up for the day or what my day holds. But either way, cheers to us. I'll tell you what, that's just such a nice, solid coffee. I mean, solid might be understating it. The Sumatra might be my favorite all-time dark roast, big, bold coffee, but I'll tell you, this Black Rifle Beyond Black is awesome as well. Many blessings to you as well, James. Oh, that's good. So it's Tuesday morning. It's bright and early. Again, my name's Ken Tracy. I live in Appleton, Wisconsin. And it's early January. Kind of scares me. Because, I mean, it doesn't scare me, but I say the date on my show every morning. And I realize now, I say January 13th. I know it still seems real early in the year, but it also reminds me we're halfway through January. And what feels like in the blink of an eye is we're going to be halfway through the year, and how quickly time goes. Again, during my intro, I talk about doing this show for 6 years. I mean, I guess I look back on the last 6 years. I don't know, I remember feeling this way about being a realtor. I was a realtor for 17 years. There was so much pain and disappointment in my real estate career. I remember even after I'd done it maybe 10 years and I'd reached a certain level of chaos and still continuing pain and disappointment, I don't know that I could have gone back or would have gone back to do it all over again. And honestly, I could say that about life, and I don't know what that means. It doesn't mean that life's not worth living, because I really believe it is. I believe it's a glorious gift, something that we should be learn from and enjoy. But I also know I don't want to have to do it all over again. You know, even with the benefit of hindsight, even I was driving home from work yesterday, and I'm working as one of my current jobs is a substitute teacher. And I drove by, I think it might have been like a cop car. And I was thinking, boy, if I could do it all over again, despite my capitalist nature and my finance degree, I think I might have, and my small government political leanings, I might have taken a job with the government as a cop or a fireman or a school teacher if I was to do it all over again. Yeah. So if anybody, new persons out there, and they want to decide on what they want to do in life, I mean, make your own decision. Don't necessarily at all, don't even slightly listen to me. But again, I was driving by and I saw a cop car and I'm going, you know, they get steady pay, great benefits, can probably provide for their family. Yeah, I think that would be an easier life taking that path. And granted, I'm not saying being a school teacher or a cop or a fireman's easy, and don't get me wrong, but I think there's some security. I know there's some job security in those positions that I've never had. I wouldn't do it all over again. I wouldn't really change. I'm not woe is me. But I must say, I did have that thought as I was driving home from the school, watching a government worker that was a police officer and thinking, hey, I bet that's not a bad gig. Your son is a paramedic school in New York, and he has a nurse wife. All right. Somebody said it's not about how much money you make, it's about living within your means. Well, when your means fluctuate, see, I disagree, James. Yeah, when your means are volatile, your means being your earnings are very volatile, it's hard to live within your means. And I think that's the point of the stable income that would be a teacher job or working for the government, is that you're going to get a 4% or a 6% raise every year and you can rely on it. But if you're in a job where you could be fired, laid off, cut back, or is commission based, you don't know what your paycheck's going to be week to week or month to month. So yeah, that's my thought about that. Started reading the New Testament last night. I stopped reading the Old Testament. I don't know if any of you ever, I don't have a very large audience. Usually I'll go live every morning and I average somewhere between 50 and 80 people watching. I got 21 people watching right now. I don't know if any of you ever watched my show before, but I started reading the Bible about I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago. And I started in the Old Testament, and everybody in church told me to start with the New Testament. I said, no, I want to read the Bible cover to cover. And night after night, I was out here reading, and I started being ashamed of what I was reading because I thought the Old Testament was that bad and that horrible and that yucky and evil. Don't get me started. I don't want to go down that path. So I put it down for a few days, and then I picked it up the other day and said, maybe the issue is I've been reading it on video, and maybe if I just had a personal little private reading with me in my coffee shop reading the pages and the chapters. I was in Joshua, the 6th book. But to be honest, I got to like chapter 17 where I'd left off reading live, and I go, useless paragraph, totally useless paragraph, skim. And I got through 3 or 4 chapters pretty quickly because honestly, I wasn't really reading it. I was probably doing what most people do that say they read the Old Testament, skimming and skipping. Because if you read it, it's not meant to be read. It'd be like reading it's hard to say what it's reading, but I don't think it's a book meant to be read. It was somebody recording things that for history's sake, and then we took a left turn at that tree and slaughtered a village, and then went down the hill and built a pile of sand. But it wasn't meant to be read. You know, maybe it's a reference manual, and if you want to track, again, I brought up Indiana Jones the other day. If you want to try and figure out where the Ark of the Covenant is and follow its journey, if you're going to be an archaeologist, maybe it's meant to be read and dissected and analyzed. But for the average reader that's on a spiritual quest, it's not going to get you there. It's going to turn you off. So yeah, I put it down a few days ago and didn't know what to do. And went to church on Sunday, was almost angry at God and angry at spirituality and doubting Christianity, and I'm still not sure how I feel. But I still enjoyed going to church and wrapping in the warmth of the smiling faces and the music and the community vibe that is church. And maybe that's not what being a Christian is, but maybe that's not what's important to me. And what's important to me is the community vibe and the smiles and the nice music. And have my own personal relationship with God that doesn't need to be told what to believe or need a 25-year-old, 100-year-old book to read. But anyway, so I went to church, and then I was watching a couple movies about the crucifixion. I watched a movie titled Barabbas. It started a couple days ago, finished it yesterday, and then again I read Saul, Journey to Damascus. And it was about this rabbi of right after the crucifixion of Christ who believed so much that Christianity was a cult and was tearing at his religion, his Jewish beliefs, I guess, that it needed to be wiped out. And he was torturing and putting Christians to death and hunting them down. And on his journeys, he found faith in his own way and changed his feelings and his beliefs. And at the end of the movie, it says that he becomes and again, don't yell at me if I'm wrong, but the second most important uh, figure in Christianity behind Jesus himself. Oh, let me see, what did somebody say? Somebody said there are chronological Bibles that you can read. It's not about the timeline. It's about the crappy content of the Old Testament. It's filled with horrid stuff. I don't know why Christians are offended by like me saying that, or will come to the defense of the Old Testament. I don't even think you're supposed to come to the defense of the Old Testament. I think you're supposed to think it's horrible. Saul, in the movie last night, was the defender of the Old Testament, and he was slaughtering and stoning and killing Christians because of his belief in the Old Testament. So I'm confused why any Christian sticks up for the Old Testament and acts like it's good. I think for some reason that I may still discover that Christianity ties itself to the God in both Bibles. And I'm not sure I see that connection at this point. I think God in the New Testament is Jesus. And he's good and loving and kind. And the God in the Old Testament is vicious, vain, and brutal. Hello. So those are my thoughts on spirituality and job stability. It's Tuesday morning. Again, I'm working 3 jobs right now. And I'm working, one of my jobs is a substitute teacher. On Friday, I taught in a high school. Yesterday, I taught 7th grade math. And today, I'm not currently scheduled, but there's jobs available in kindergarten and 3rd grade. There was some frustration on Friday teaching geometry because I just don't know that subject matter at all. I learned geometry 40 some years ago and haven't really used a whole heck of a lot of geometry between now and then. Certainly not things like congruent triangles or side angle side. And with the work that the kids do on their Chromebook, just managing the class, I think what was difficult for me on Friday was I couldn't get up, stop the class, tell them to put their Chromebooks away, and do any work on the board and go through problems and see if anyone wanted to volunteer and help out. And yesterday we were doing somewhat basic math equations, trying to figure out what X was, like, you know, where we'd, just trying to figure out what X was. Basic kind of algebraic equations and things that I still understand and can use and I felt could teach and add value to it other than walking around and making sure kids are doing their homework on their Chromebooks. And if a child had a problem, I could help them. And we were given a worksheet. I was given a worksheet to pass out, but instead of just having the kids do it at their desk, I called some kids and brought them up to the board and wrote it and kind of worked through it with class and had them explain their thought process as they were working through the equations to figure out what x equaled. And I felt like I was contributing in a positive way, and again, could do the basic question, get the answer and do the equations myself. So it felt good, while some kids struggled a little more than others. But either way, I think I made it more enjoyable than them staring at their Chromebook for the full hour and being distracted. So I felt there was a lot of value in that, and it felt good doing. So working with the high schoolers, it seemed, and maybe it's just geometry, maybe if I was in social studies but again, or science, but I don't know. I couldn't do chemistry. I mean, I don't remember chemistry. I don't know how subs do it. I think they lower their expectations. I think I go in expecting to be the world's greatest teacher, and I've only taught 10 times or 11 times in my life. And I think I want to connect with all the kids and change lives and get them excited about school or what have you. And I think my expectations are probably too high. But either way, seeing that there's a kindergarten class available and a 3rd grade class, I tell you, it's a little stressful being doing hold on. Somebody said, you cannot toss the Old Testament like it's bad. It is the Word of God. Jody Girl, yes, I can. I just did. The Old Testament's very bad. I think it's horrible. I think it's horrible. I think God in the Old Testament is Satan. So when you say, I can't do it, I did do it, and I even went and said that. I think it's evil. Now back to teaching kindergarten and 3rd grade. I'd be nervous going in today, feeling that I couldn't keep the class focused, entertained, educated, on track. Yeah. Jody Girl, maybe you're trying to force your beliefs on me. You're saying I stated that God will never force himself on you. I don't know that I ever stated, and you're putting it in quotes, that God will never force himself on you. I don't remember ever stating that. I did just state that God in the Old Testament, I believe, is the personification of Satan. And you saying I do not understand salvation feels like you're forcing your beliefs on me. Oh, you were talking to Yara, okay, or to Tara. Okay, I appreciate that. Again, I don't remember saying that quote. And if you guys are arguing amongst yourselves, you go ahead. I just thought you were misquoting me. And I didn't want to be misquoted because I didn't think I'd ever said that. Okay, so I apologize. Again, I just didn't want to be misquoted. So if you're telling somebody else she doesn't understand salvation, you go right ahead. Let's see. Well, I didn't mean to. You guys are. And maybe this is why they don't ever talk religion and politics. Or you're not supposed to. Because it's funny, I'm going to say, I'm a guy, I'm telling you, I was very disappointed in reading the Old Testament. I was hoping to enhance my faith and spirituality, and if anything, it crushed it. And I don't believe, honestly, most people that debate that have actually read the words of the Old Testament. Yeah, I don't think most people have. And I don't think most people know what's in there. And I think most people are regurgitating the snippets that their pastor is telling them in church on Sundays about Caleb's great faith or Abraham's faith. I mean, okay, I'll just bring that up. God told Abraham to take his son up there to the mountain and sacrifice him on the altar and burn him, his body, and kill him, just as a test for Abraham's faith. I mean, I don't know. Christians out there, I ask you, does God want to test a father's faith so much that he's going to have him butcher his son on the top of a mountain and burn his body just as a test to see if he'd do it? Seems like something Satan would do. But anyway. Back to substitute teaching. Or do we want to talk politics this morning? Let's see. Paul is saying there's not one single piece of proof that God is real. Prove me wrong. The whole point of it, Paula, isn't proof. If you need proof, spirituality wouldn't have, and faith wouldn't be as important. If you need proof for everything, you're just going to get your ass kicked in life. Having faith gets you through the hard times, is what I'd say. So I can't prove to you. I'm not even trying. I don't even care to prove to you. Paula, why would I? I'm not trying to convert you into anything. You go about your life. I'm not one that's out here that needs to spread the word of God or anything. I'm just telling you my experience. And again, I'm not candy coating it at all. Yeah. I mean, in 2,000 years ago, I would have been stoned and called a blasphemer and put in chains and whipped and tortured and crucified. So yeah, I'm not trying to sugarcoat it at all, but I think the whole point isn't being. A year ago, just about a year ago at this time, I started I was still living in Naperville, and I signed up for some course, or not course, some sort of, it was kind of cool. We'd get together on Wednesday nights. But honestly, I think too much of it was fluff. And honestly, even more so, I thought the people leading it, I don't know, maybe shouldn't have been. And we were going around in a room, and it was supposed to be an open, safe discussion, but I didn't really understand because people were wanting like proof. They just wish there was some proof that God was real. And I just didn't understand it. And I'm very new into spirituality. But again, I think the whole point of it is the faith. Believing in goodness despite the clouds that are going to come to our lives and the losses and the job loss and the struggles we're going to go through. believing in goodness in spite of that stuff is what gives it its power. You know, if I saw God just sitting there and I could interview him on this show, it would almost be as if you would need to see God all the time and be able to question, challenge him. And I think that would take away some of the goodness that is faith. God sent his one and only son. Hey, Tara Matthews. Are you Tara or are you Matthews? God sent his one and only son as a sacrifice for us, Ken. Aren't we all God's children? Tara, are we all God's children? I'm confused about that. Tara, I hope you're still there. I want to know if we are all God's children. And again, I think so often devout Christians say that every word is truth in the Bible. And Tara, again, you just said God sent his one and only son. But I'd like to know, because I've also heard that we are all God's children. And if we're all God's children, how is Jesus God's one and only son? Hey, thank you so much for sending that 2026. I appreciate it. I'd like to do this show full time. I talk about my jobs a lot, and I'm a bartender, a waiter, and I substitute teach. And today I'm looking at a day that I could substitute teach at levels that I'm not sure I'm very good at kindergarten or third grade. And I don't know if I could do a good job in that role. And honestly, I'm a little stressed always walking in going, am I going to be good at this? And I think, to me, I'm faced with, should I go to do a job that I'm not sure I'm even good at or meant to do, working with kindergartners all day or third graders all day, and earn a little bit of money that is only a little bit of money that kind of keeps me going like this, keeping my mouth above water. I feel like if I do that, I'm holding on to a board that can barely sustain me in the ocean. Whereas if I work on Coffee with Ken, go live for longer, post more shorts and reels and TikToks, I'm actually building a boat with which I can sail on, if that makes sense. So I struggle with it because I need the money, but it's never enough money to get me where I need to go. So I kind of struggle with that a little bit, if that makes sense to you. Tara, again, I'd like to ask, and I mean it, I'm not trying to call you out again, but you said that God sacrificed his one and only son. So we are not God's children? And I'd like somebody else to answer that if Tara doesn't want to. Well, thank you, Tim, for subscribing to my channel. I appreciate it. If you could share my channel to anybody, please do, because I'd like it to grow. I think it matters. I think I'm a guy that has questions like we all do. I think the value in my channel is I'm not some learned theologian that's telling you what to believe. I'm like you guys, and I'm struggling, and I talk about working out, but I'm not some ripped dude that does sit-ups while eating breakfast. I'm just a guy. And I think there's value in a guy, just a regular guy, sharing his experience. Wait, okay, Tara said, you are created by God, but you are only his child when you choose to believe in Jesus and the message he brought. I don't know, Tara. Wait, is that Tara that said that? Tara's explanation is you are created by God, but you're only his child when you choose to believe in Jesus and the message he brought. Tara, are you just making that up? And I don't even mean to call you out on that. Is that in the Bible? Or is that just some weird interpretation that you just made up or somebody told you? I don't remember reading that in the Bible. So we're not all God's children. You are created by God, but you're only his child when you choose to believe in Jesus and the message he brought. Okay, so it's not his one and only son, because there's people that believe in Jesus and the message he brought that are male, that if they are his children, are his son. Tim Booth says, that's why you love the channel. I'm not a know-it-all. I mean, I have my thoughts, Tim. I think I'm slightly smarter than the average bear, but I don't think I'm better. I get my ass kicked, and I wonder these things. And again, Tara, I don't believe your explanation about that. And I haven't heard a good explanation, because I'm so beaten over the head that God gave his one and only son to die on the cross for our sins, and I find that a turnoff. But I'm also told we're all God's children. I mean, God doesn't seem very sentimental. Even slightly. The God in the Old Testament isn't sentimental at all. So do I believe he had a warm, fuzzy feeling about Jesus? No. I think he would have sacrificed Jesus for sport, the God of the Old Testament. I do. Wait. He is our Father. That would make us his children. Okay, so if we are his children, Jesus isn't his one and only son. So why do we say that? Either we're not all God's children, or Jesus wasn't his one and only son. And again, I'm asking anybody out there, and I've never even slightly heard a good explanation for it. Other than, well, they're just kind of saying that. But most people I know that are Christian believe every word that comes out of the Bible like it's some holy script. When it's not, believe me, I just read the Old Testament. It was yucky. Your grandpa said that God does not believe in us unless we believe in him. Well, that would almost go back to my faith thought, that the power of religion and spirituality is our faith. I would say your grandpa saying that God doesn't believe in us unless we believe in him, I wouldn't agree with from the Bible, from what I've read. He's supposed to carry us when we're struggling. Tara said you're 17 years in. Well, Tara, okay, I'm not sure what you mean by 17 years in. And I'm not trying to call you out or make fun of you, Tara. I'm not. I'm actually searching for answers. And that's why I read the Old Testament and why I stopped. I hated it. It was horrible. It's an evil book that's not meant to be read. And I know you guys, those that are going to take offense to it, probably have never read it. Jesus claimed to be God, so they beat him to death. I still don't even gather. Ask my pastor. But a little bit, why do I want to ask my pastor? Because my pastor is just a man as well. I mean, I probably would. I mean, I like him. I think one of my pastors would threaten me with hell for being blasphemous and not having a strong enough faith. And I think that's the struggle. And I also struggle with everyone wanting to prove that their religion is right and that the others aren't. Hold on here, let me go back. The Greek word translated as only begotten implies a unique or one-of-a-kind relationship rather than a biological process as humans understand it. Your elder told you Satan is influencing your mind. Well, I would imagine Satan's always there influencing our mind, but I kind of look, okay, I don't look at the Bible literally. I don't, I guess. And I would say Satan's influencing all of our minds, even if you read the Bible, and Satan's there trying to tempt Jesus at some point. And honestly, the only reason I know it, because I've only read the first 2 chapters of Matthew, was Jonathan Romy, the guy that plays Jesus in The Chosen, is reading a passage out of the Bible. That's the only reason I know it. I gotta get some more coffee. Am I a sinner? Oh yeah, but I mean, oh yeah, I mean, am I a sinner? Yeah, I mean, sure, I'm so imperfect, but a sinner in a biblical way, obviously, I covet my neighbor's goods. I might think somebody's wife is gorgeous, and I might say bad things about my parents, and certainly have. But am I a sinner? Obviously, but I prefer to call it imperfect. You know, a sinner. I guess that's my break off of Christianity. I'm not so hung up, okay. I'm not hung up on the sinner concept. I'd say totally imperfect. Totally imperfect. But sin, maybe the concept of sin. And I'm learning to accept my imperfections. And they're many. But sin, I feel I have this old school preacher telling me I'm bad and I need to say 10 Our Fathers. I'm learning to accept me with my imperfections if you want to call it sins. Yeah, I mean, according to the Bible, I'm probably blaspheming right now. Okay, here's what I'm saying. When you say the word sin, I'm picturing the Pharisees stoning to death Stephen because of his... I think the word sin to me is Old Testament and feels judgment and evil. Yeah. Tara said, I didn't complete the Old Testament or the New Testament. First of all, Tara, I'd ask, have you? Secondly, I'd say nobody's been more clear about exactly what he's read in the Bible than me. I read Joshua, and I wasted 3 or 4 months. I think it's a horrible, horrible book. And now I've read 2 chapters of Matthew. And I don't know what you've read. Yeah, nobody's been more clear about their reading and where they are than me. I did it in front of you, and I hated it. It was horrible. And I don't think it gets any better. And people say, oh, well, you haven't read Proverbs. Well, don't put it in the 20th book. Don't make me read 8 months to get to a chapter that's worthwhile. Jesus is the Son of God by nature and divine essence, unique in his being. Humans are God's children by creation, and for believers through spiritual adoption. Okay, but you're kind of playing with the words there. You're saying, well, it's not literal. Most of the people that I know that are very devout Christians take the words literally, and you're kind of, so it's not his one and only Son? I mean, Jesus is the Son of God by nature and divine essence, unique in his being. Humans are God's children by creation. So you're saying the word, the Son of God, is different than God's children, I guess is what you're saying. It's how you describe it. Why do people love Jesus? Because they believe Jesus loves us, would be my answer to that. That would be my answer, is because they believe Jesus loves us and they think Jesus gives us, is there for us and supports us and is strong and gives us comfort and forgives us. But that's just my interpretation. I would say there's a portion of people that love Jesus because they're afraid they're going to go to hell if they don't. And I think that's a big turnoff for me. So do I think the Bible is fiction? A whole bunch of it. Then why did people kill Jesus? Well, look at the crazy people back then. I mean, it's all over. The Old Testament's horrible because he spoke the truth. He said, this is horrible. Because he said the Old Testament is horrible. Because he wanted to tear down their temple. Why 2 testaments? Personally, I'd throw out the old one, and if you wanted to refer to it, go for it. But I wouldn't read it. The people today, I believe, are probably worse and would do the same than what they did to Jesus. No, I don't think the people today are worse. I think the people clutched... Yeah, no, I can't speak any more negatively about the Old Testament. I can't feel any more negatively about the Old Testament. than I do. Somebody said, Dead Man said, magic isn't real and the Bible is full of magical crap happening. I don't even know about all that or concern myself too much about all that. Somebody's looking out their window. Let's see. Who wrote the Bible? I don't know who wrote the Bible. Wasn't me, it wasn't God, it wasn't Jesus, I know that much. Oh. And because of that, I don't know why we're pretending it's these perfect books. And apparently there were books of the Bible that were said, man, we won't include this one. Well, this one's not a good one. Yeah. Honestly, I don't think anyone knows who wrote the Bible. I think at the end of my movie last night, they said Paul, who was Saul the Butcher, wrote a lot of it. Am I a pastor? No, not even slightly. Not even slightly am I a pastor. I'm just a guy drinking coffee who's read probably more of the Old Testament than 95% of the humans out there. Feels good to be able to say that. And I only did 6 chapters. I don't think most people have read it at all. I think most people probably read the Garden of Eden and go, hee hee. I've read the Bible. And they have no idea what's in the Old Testament. Moses wrote the first books. Good morning, Kat. How are you? Hello, Sheladan. How are you? Somebody's saying books of Enoch. Apparently there's a book of Judas and a book of Thomas as well. And again, I don't know, but I'll find it, and this is going to be sacrilegious, but I don't care. My concerns and my questions for the words in the Bible that I talked about openly on this show over the last month, people were saying, go look up Gnosticism, and I did, and I'm surprised that anybody else has ever felt this way. I'm actually surprised more people haven't felt this way. Because if you read the Old Testament, it's horrible. It's horrible. God commands Israel to rape and murder babies and virgins. It's horrible. You've had better days. Today's not the best, but thanks for asking. Well, that's okay. Person that's not having the best today. And maybe accepting that today's not the best is a really healthy thing for you. Oh, wait, hold on here. Somebody said a lot of people use the Old Testament to hate God. I'm not using it to hate God, Ned. I'm reading it and going, wow, this God's a dick. He is. I'm not using it. I read it. I'm actually thinking God in the Old Testament isn't God. I think he's Satan. So I'm not using them to hate God, and I'm not saying anything against Jesus. I'm hopeful. But I think that the God, and I don't understand why you don't get this, Ned, because the Pharisees, the people of the Old Testament, are slaughtering Christians, crucified Jesus Christ. So I don't understand how anyone acts like the Old Testament is filled with goodness or kindness at all. How can anyone believe in the Abrahamic God in their rational mind? Nancy said it's not a, oh, I already did stop it, Nancy. I know somebody said Deuteronomy 30:31. Yeah, I don't even know, but he's citing a lot of passages. Howling said there are 27 books that are not included. Okay, there's 27 books of the Bible that aren't included. But what are books of the Bible? I mean, honestly, Howling, and I assume you're talking about those like Gnostic texts. But what makes a book of the Bible and not a book of the Bible? Because we found them on parchment that was written 2,000 years ago? You know, if I find some old paper and bury it in the desert for 1,000 years and call it the Book of Ken, does it suddenly become a book of the Bible? I mean, what makes a book of the Bible and not? And I'm not sure what my point is in asking this, but what makes a book of the Bible? Why are those texts that were dug up in 1945 books of the Bible that were excluded? And I'm not, and believe me, I'm not even saying this from an anti-Gnostic point of view. I'm wondering who chose why is Ezekiel a book of the Bible and Thomas is or isn't? Who included various books? Who said Deuteronomy is a keeper or Numbers is valuable? Numbers is worthless. Unless you really want to know the exact number of people of each tribe and exactly the weight of each platter, silver platter that was donated to God, because God needs the silver. The early church decided on the New Testament. The Old Testament was decided by priests. Okay, and again, I'm not sure if you're right or wrong about that, but either way, whether the early church decided on the New Testament and the Old Testament was decided by priests, to me, it's just man is picking and choosing what's a keeper and what's not. So I see nothing holy about the early church or the priests. I mean, I guess it's a good thing that spirituality is such an important topic right now. I don't intend it to be. But for me, it's on my mind because, again, I'm now just fascinated. It's got to do with the message within the book, the references to other things, people that are similar and can be somewhat aligned. I don't really know what that means at all, Howling Moon. You mean because my hypothetical book of Ken wouldn't necessarily fit with the other ones? But either way, man determined what stays and what goes. They're not written by God or Jesus. The followers of Jesus wrote the New Testament so they would have had their best knowledge of the teachings, you assume. You're saying the disciples? I was in church. I thought they said they weren't sure who wrote Matthew, that it's not necessarily written by Matthew the disciple. I could be wrong. somebody said soon enough everyone will turn away from Christ. I don't know if that's true. I almost feel there's a movement towards faith and spirituality. Yeah, again, I think I'm moving, and I don't know if it has to be the one and only Son of God who died on the cross for our sins, but I think I might be moving towards Jesus, even in my own way of believing, that might offend and get me kicked out of the Christian club. And I'm okay being kicked out of the Christian club. I don't need to be a part of a club to have a relationship with God or have faith. A bunch of it was included because it helped out the message forward, and the books that weren't included were either unbelievable or were against the overall message. Yeah, okay. Well, so they were against the overall message. But again, it's being editorialized by some dudes that threw rocks at Jesus. I don't know why we're even supposed to believe anything from it. I almost think the whole Jesus story is tearing down the Old Testament, is tearing down the God of the Old Testament. I think he's came to enlighten us with the truth. And the truth was that the Old Testament was a savage, mean God who was vain and wicked, perhaps even Satan. There, I've said it again. So perhaps I'm moving towards Jesus, and what I'm saying is the stuff that's taught in, that's taught somewhere is crap. Learn about the Gnostic Gospels. I've scratched the surface with the Gnostic stuff, and I'm surprised how much it aligns with what I've been feeling from reading the Old Testament. Yeah, I pray and I ask God for strength, and every night, not even every night, it's not like I sit at the bed, but I'll be driving my car and thinking about things, and I'll talk to God. I'm not talking to the God that's stoning the dude for picking up sticks or telling the Israel to rape the women and kill the children in towns they take over. I don't know how anyone's pretending that that's okay. I don't know how anyone's pretending that that's okay. And we get some rationale, well, those were really bad people that the Israelites did it to. You butchered their children. You butchered the babies. You slaughtered the cows. You raped the women. Come on. I'm honestly disgusted by people that excuse that behavior by God in the Old Testament. Or pretend it's, he doesn't say that. Well, he does too. He shaves the women's head, clips their nails, has sex with them, and if they're not pleasing, they can be sent away. Maybe my theory about Satan is what was meant by the warning about false prophets. I don't know if you're implying me being a false prophet. I'm not trying to be a prophet at all or ultra enlightened. I'm just a guy searching for truth. And the words I read from the Old Testament are evil words. And if you don't agree, I think you're deluding yourself. And go ahead, delude yourself. I'm not trying to convince anybody to not. But I was shocked by the horrors that were in there. Satan claiming to be God.
if you read the Old Testament naively, like me, and you read about the Lord our God, he seems vain, he seems cruel, he floods the earth because he doesn't like the way it's going, he's angry as hell the whole time. He seems Satan-like. And for some reason, we pretend that he's this glorious God. He threatens us to throw us into hell. He throws people. He cracks open the world and swallows up people. The only reason to believe in the God of the Old Testament is out of fear that he will kill you and have you stoned to death if you don't listen to him. I've always said, like, I talked to my daughter about finding a church, and some churches I'll go and I'll go, that guy's kind of fire and brimstone for me. And maybe that's Christianity, but I don't think that it is, but maybe it is. And maybe I'm not even slightly a Christian. And I'm okay if I'm not. But I've never felt I'm God-fearing. I wouldn't want, I don't know why God would want to be feared. You'd love to take my theory to a rabbi friend of yours. It's fascinating. Kat, I don't know if you're joking or not about my theory. What, the God of the Old Testament is Satan? I don't think I haven't seen one kind thing he's done. Okay, wait. Hold on. Hagar, who was the slave girl, or wait, I might have them backwards. Hagar, who I think was the slave girl of Sarah, who slept with Abraham and had a son, and the son and Hagar were cast off into the wilderness. I think God took a little pity on the slave girl and the son of Abraham and saved them from starving to death. But the rest of the story, honestly, is rather grotesque. Some old dude having sex with a slave girl of his wife, conceiving a child, and then sending him off into the wilderness. I mean, none of that's good. I mean, I feel glad that I read the Old Testament because I can say that. Because I think most of us just go, okay, yeah, that's awesome. Well, somebody told me to read Judges. Is that in the Bible? He constantly gives mercy to his people. All right, but Jared, you're telling me to read some book. I spent months reading it. And I just found some obscure little nugget of mercy in months of reading, and I quoted it. You're telling me to go find some other book. I don't know. If there's no mercy other than what I just said in the first 6.5 books of the Old Testament, there's something wrong with the books. You're saying read Judges. Why do I have to? There's none in Genesis or Leviticus or Deuteronomy or Numbers or Joshua or Exodus. It's savagery. You're telling me there's I got to go find some decency in some book that's buried in 50 other books of the Old Testament? That's not enough for me. If God in Judges is merciful, that's not enough. I hope that makes sense. Okay, Ned says they were harsh times. Ned, I don't doubt that horrible things went on in ancient times. My problem isn't the men that are raping or slaughtering people. My problem is God is commanding them to do it. God shouldn't be evil because they were tough times. Does that make sense to you? I get that people did savage things. I understand that there was slavery in America and that horrible things have gone out through history and we're more civilized. But God shouldn't be less civilized. God should have been a shining light during this time. But to me, he was evil and leading the charge in the Holocaust that was throughout the Old Testament, the slaughter and the genocide. It's horrible. The Canaanites were sacrificing their children. Jared, okay, so is that why Israel went in and slaughtered every child and raped the women? You know, I hear that a lot. Oh, they did child sacrifice. Israel went in and killed every child of these people. So I don't think saying that, well, those were very bad people, rationalizes them putting to the sword every man, woman, and child of a civilization. So I almost find that horrifically off-putting that you're saying, well, it's because these people were very bad. So that's why you butchered their children and their babies? Come on. Somebody said, yes, they sacrificed their children to Moloch. I don't know what Moloch is. All right, let's just say these people were bad and did child sacrifice, which I don't know if I believe at all, but let's pretend they are. So God commands the people of Israel to go in, burn it all down, and slaughter not only the men, not only the women, but the babies as well, and the cows. Come on. Because they are the enemy of God. I don't know what that means. So it's 6:17. I think what I should probably do today is hang up with you in about 10 minutes. Asaf says that is not a loving God. Yeah, stop rationalizing the genocide that God commanded. Saying, well, they were very bad people. I find that almost insulting to the God that I pray to. Because I don't know that they were very bad people. I'm taking your word, who was worshiping, to the God that is commanding genocide. And he's not only killing the soldiers, he's going in and slaughtering the children with swords and the women and keeping the virgin women to do as they please with. It's comically horrible, and you know it. The Canaanites. It wasn't just the Canaanites, it was every village. It wasn't just the Canaanites. They were going from town to town, anybody in land they wanted, and slaughtering them. Can the created judge the creator? That's completely irrational. Well, your definition of the creator, ball striker, I think might be Satan. Do what you will with that. Who you are calling creator, I think, may be Satan. Somebody said, you don't even know that all those groups were connected and all did the same things. So you think, okay, let's just pretend you're right, that everybody that Israel slaughtered sacrificed children. I mean, obviously, they didn't sacrifice all their children. I mean, that doesn't seem a prudent way to go forward with your, I just don't believe that there was mass sacrificing of their children. That just doesn't seem to make much sense. But let's pretend for a minute that it happened. God commanded Israel to kill not only the adults, but slaughter the babies as well, and rape the women. Somebody asked the last time I ate at KFC. It's funny, I was at Starbucks the other day and there was a KFC across the way. And I was wondering how much it would cost to get like a 4-piece meal. I'm wondering if it'd be tasty. But I probably haven't eaten KFC in at least 5 years, maybe 10. I wasn't going to eat the chicken while at Starbucks, just for the record. I was sitting at Starbucks. I looked out the window and there was a KFC over there. And I thought, hey, I haven't eaten. And honestly, okay, I went further. I Googled KFC to see if there was any great special for like $4.99 to get a 3-piece meal. But my fear, and what probably stopped me, A, I don't want to, it's hardly unhealthy, but B, I think it probably would have been like $12.99 for a 3-piece meal these days, and that would have bummed me out. What a glorious audience we have today. So here's what I've determined with all this conversation is that maybe in 9 minutes, I've gotten what I needed to do. I've done what I needed to do with Coffee with Ken today. I went live. I talked for over an hour. I've been blasphemous. Tune in tonight for chapters 3 and 4 from Matthew. And maybe we'll face my fears and pick up an assignment at an elementary school, and I'll teach to kindergartner, 3rd grade. There might be a reason there's no men in elementary school. I wonder about that. I mean, please, God, give me the patience to deal with 25-year-olds all day. I'm afraid I won't have the patience. Jody Girl says, you think the problem is people are not giving the word of God the respect it's due. There's no humility. It's almost as if we are approaching it like we know best and not God. Jody Girl, we're not even sure I'm personally not even sure you're praying to God. If you're praying to the God of the Old Testament, I think you might be praying to Satan. So you're talking about humility. I don't think you're understanding what I'm saying. I think you might be totally misreading the tea leaves and that Jesus was sent here to unveil that. And he was killed because of it. Good morning, Joanne. How are you? I will have a blessed day. I feel better because I came out is the Old Testament really bad? It's horrible, King Billy. Read it. It's horrible. It's horrible. Anybody that tells you it's not is full of crap. It's horrible. God is this vicious dude leading Israel on this butchering spree and this raping and pillage and stealing. It's horrible. It's horrible. So yeah, the Old Testament's horrible. No, I didn't finish it, but I spent 3 months reading 2 chapters a night to finally come to the conclusion that it's horrible. Well, thank you. The New Testament is better, you're asking. I don't know, but I felt a different tone in it. I only read 2 chapters last night. I would imagine it's way better. I'm imagining Jesus is walking around loving on people, healing them, and forgiving people. But there's none of that. Through the first 6 books of the Old Testament, there's none of it. There's no goodness. It's just butchery. And I'm hopeful that the New Testament is better. I'll keep you posted, though. Yeah, I'll keep you posted. I mean, you know, I think I'm doing what God wants me to do. I think I'm doing God's work by saying this. So I'm not afraid of damnation or anything. This realm is the type of hell since to be survived, things must be killed. I don't know what that means, Noah. Your family switched from Catholic to New Testament. I'm not that familiar with Catholic, except Catholic seems very much man-driven and less faith-driven. Like, I don't know. You confess your sins to a priest. If that helps you, I guess. But I don't think you need a priest as an intermediary between you and God. I don't think you need the Pope as an intermediary between you and God either. Shouldn't lead people astray. See, Jody girl, I'm not telling you what you should and shouldn't do. Dangerous territory. I feel you're threatening me, Jody, and telling me what I should and shouldn't do. And I can't tell you how much of a turnoff that is. Limited Bible knowledge, I spent the last 3.5 months reading it. Do you need to dedicate 10 years of your life to have an opinion? I should hope not. You want to start reading the Old Testament, where should you begin? How about page 1? Go for it. Good morning, Julie Flanagan. Go for it, King Bill. Wherever you want to start in the Old Testament, read whatever you want. See, maybe. Apparently some dude says Judges. There's a lot of mercy in Judges. So maybe start at Judges. Maybe skip the first 15 books. Somebody says they think religion at best is a tool for morality, but no need for an in-between to have a relationship with God. Hey, Julie Flanagan, I'm debating going to teach kindergarten or 3rd grade today. I'm wondering if I can handle it. Can I entertain a class of 3rd graders for the whole day? You think I can do 3rd grade? So you think I should take the 3rd grade class? So I'm going from high school to junior high to third grade, I don't know that I'm that flexible of a teacher. Somebody wants to believe in God, you really do. We'll start. All right, Julie Flanagan. I need the money, Julie, but again, the money for me isn't enough to get me where I need to go, so I struggle with that a little bit. And I feel that way with all my jobs. And I got done with work yesterday, and I went to Starbucks and was on Indeed looking for other jobs. And it's tiring when that's your existence, working and looking for other jobs. It would be nice to have a job, and that's why I was talking about working for the government and almost wishing if I could go back, I would. Having the peace of mind knowing that you're going to get a paycheck, you don't need to kick doors in to get commission, that you could go do your job and you'd have benefits and get paid for. Third is fun. All right. All right. Somebody said deliver mail. I don't think mail delivery people get paid too much. And honestly, I looked into it. First of all, my right knee's tired. I don't know that I'd want to be walking that much. But secondly, I did look into it, and I watched a video, and it didn't seem like the mail carriers really liked what they did. Third grade is fun age. If you have the classroom management skills to handle hormonal middle schoolers, you'll do great with third graders. I've only been in middle school twice, and I've only been in high school twice. What I'm saying is it's kind of hard going to a new school all the time with new kids and new grades and never feeling like you're really good at anything. You know, and again, I work as a waiter and a bartender, and I feel like I'm subbing in life. Everywhere I go, I'm just kind of filling gaps, but I'm not excelling at anything. I was damn good at Texas Roadhouse because I did it a lot. And now I'm just kind of drifting around, trying different things, going, hey, how do you do this? Well, I don't know, just here you go. Here's a Chromebook. Here's the learning plan. Good luck. All right, I'm there for the kiddos. All right, I'm gonna go do if that shift is still available. I'm gonna go and teach the crud out of third grade today. And if it's not, should I do the kindergarten, Julie Flanagan? I'm tired. I was up at 3:45. You think I should teach the kindergartners? Put a movie on for the kids. I don't know. I don't even know how to use the board. All right, so I'll go in, I'll work. Even though I've gotten a little sleep, even though I'd like to go to the gym, I will go and work today. But I so appreciate you guys for joining me today on Tuesday Morning Coffee with Ken. If there's anybody new that's tuning in, please subscribe. I go live. I talk for about an hour every day, and usually have a lot of fun with it. Sometimes we talk heavy conversations like today. Sometimes we'll talk lighter fare, but either way, I'd appreciate if you join me. So please subscribe, and thanks for being here. I hope you're having a wonderful start to your week yesterday. I hope you had a great night's sleep. Your coffee is hot. You're feeling good. You are loving yourself. You are forgiving yourself. And as always, I hope to talk to you soon. Bye-bye.